Today is Saturday, September the 1st. We're already in September, guys. And I am your host, Frosthaven. And of course, I am joined here with Largo and the Utility Man. And it looks like our chat is working today, so big round of applause. Good job, Streamlabs chat widget, for doing your job.
It's working for now, of course.
How is everyone doing in chat? Welcome, Hidden Spike Trap. Galaxy, good to see you again, Galaxy. We need to catch up. We haven't talked much lately. Southern Songbird, and of course, our very own Fortis bot. Thank you for joining us. You make it all possible.
Wait, who's Southern Songbird? You mean
AKA Rachel. Yeah.
Okay, I know who that is now. I know who that is.
Does everyone have their beverage of choice? Mine today is Coca-Cola.
I have yes.
So I'm guessing that's water and actually alcohol, but you're not telling.
I'm guessing it's vodka and water.
Vodka and water? That is the grossest. Why? You know, if they had if they had alcoholic fountain drinks at like McDonald's or something, it would be like 90% water though. So I get where you're coming from.
I mean, when they stuff it full of ice as much as they do.
Well, not only that, have you ever looked? Maybe I'm weird for looking at the nozzles, but if you look at like the little nozzles on fountains that you push, like they have 4 little jets and half of them just spew nothing but water, like carbonated water. It's so ridiculous.
Just a little tiny stream of whatever brown fluid you have for your soft drink.
Right. No, actually what they do is they get an atom gun, so it just shoots like an atom of soda every couple of seconds. Just a molecular. Yeah. So anyway, what have you been up to this week, Utility Man?
Actually, it seems like every week I've started a new game, so I might as well just say this week I have started playing Alpha Sapphire. Gen 3 is one of my favorites.
Is that a Pokemon thing?
Yes. It is a remake of Pokemon Gen 3, Ruby and Sapphire.
So what's different about Alpha Sapphire?
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not even to the first gym yet. I literally just started it 2 days ago.
So is it pretty much the same so far, though? Like you talk to a professor, pick your starter, and go?
Actually, this one is fully 3D.
A 3D remake of Gen 3?
Yes, actually.
Huh.
It's remade from the original versions as the Gen 6 was. So you actually have more room to go.
Is this like a fan project or an official game?
No, official game.
Maybe they just needed to appease everybody. When did this come out? Like, I'm completely in the dark with Pokemon, so.
It's been a few years,
6?
actually.
No, maybe not even 6.
So in
For a while.
It came out after Gen 6.
I just want to point something out here. So we're facing like new Pokemon news between like the Eevee, the Pikachu, a new Pokemon on the horizon. And the answer to get your Pokemon fix is to go back in time. It's sad that that happens so often.
It's happening in this case because I have no intention of getting Pokemon Let's Go because it's Pokemon Go. So
no, it isn't. They put the word "let's" in there. That makes all the difference.
Everyone
really doesn't.
So what have you been up to, Largo?
Besides avoiding heat exhaustion and heat stroke, Monster Hunter.
Know that feeling. The heat stroke part, anyways.
Yep. We are in the same bucket.
Yeah. Did you hear about the? Oh my god! Did you hear about the trauma at my work though?
I remember you going off about it in chat, but I don't.
Man, so you know how I've basically been like borderline hospitalized twice now.
Yep.
Inside the office where we go to plug up our phone to charge it for the overnight shift, there are 2 desk fans. They're about yay big. They're really small, like kind of desk fans you get at Walmart.
They're Five Nights at Freddy's fans, yeah.
So for 5 minutes while I was sitting there charging up the work phone, I turned the fan towards me because I was literally just the blob when it comes to liquid.
But nothing can stop the blob.
Right, right. So I was an unstoppable blob, and so I put the fan on me for 5 minutes, and then I had a stern talking to with the threat of emailing out that I would dare touch their property. Yeah, can you believe that? Isn't that crazy? And so all this week I've been getting calls from the office and I've just been completely ignoring them. So that's fun. And thank you so much, Chris Brad 79 for the follow.
Hey, thanks for
Hey.
following.
Every follow counts. I'm just saying.
Yep.
Every single follow. In fact, I hereby state, as of right now, Chris Brad 79 is the only person watching the stream that counts. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Well, damn.
See, we treat everyone equally. Bad.
Mhm.
That's what we do.
Yeah, bad.
So that's how my work went. I've been on this kick to try to get back into Fallout 4 this week. Isn't that crazy?
Well, you're trying to get prepped for 76, and we know this.
Well, I'm trying to get prepped for 76. I'm trying to get my head back in the game, and I ran into a huge problem. See, I played Fallout 4 when it first came out, and I played the hell out of it. My primary character is like level 200 something now, and I found myself with a problem where I used a ton of mods. I had like 200 something mods installed through the Nexus Mod Manager. As you can imagine, the game has been patched a few times since then. So now my game, which ran smooth as butter, has like half the content missing, tons of errors, and runs at about 2 frames per second. So I'm going to have to completely wipe out all of my mod collection and start from scratch. And it makes me so sad.
That's what happens. I mean, you modded it when it first came out, just about.
Yep.
We haven't, and you really haven't played it much since then.
I did a vanilla playthrough once, and then the rest was modded. But that's the problem. That's the problem you run into with modded content, I think, at the end of the day. Like, with a game that's getting so many updates, like, you look at the mod scene for Minecraft, it's just as bad. You pretty much, if you're going to heavily mod, you have to stay at the same version for Minecraft. Like, if we were to update to Minecraft 13 on the community Minecraft server, for instance, like, nothing would work. We'd have
That
to
would
start
explain
over.
why Project Ascension has been in vanilla for forever now.
But there are some amazing mods, though, like things that open it up, increase the factions, make the Minutemen not suck, tons of quest chains, adding extra dialogue. That, like, it's just some of the mods out there. And I know we talked about it in a previous show, but some of the mods out there are larger than the actual official DLCs that they release. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
they are.
Wouldn't doubt it.
Never underestimate the power of fan projects, man.
You know, this is interesting. We have new Pokemon coming out. I go back and play an older Pokemon. We have new Fallout coming out. You go back and play an older Fallout.
That's true.
Don't
Largo,
me.
where's your retro
No.
game, Largo?
If they release a new Mega Man X, then I could say I went back and played Mega Man X again. But
To join the retro one. Of
Actually,
us.
there's some news about X9 potentially
I know I saw about
happening.
that. That was awesome looking.
What's happening with X9?
We might actually get it.
Yeah,
Like, that's the news.
that's all.
Yeah,
news.
that's the
Like
news.
Capcom's gauging everyone's awareness after Mega Man 11 launches to see if they want to make X9. It is not currently in production, but it is a talk. So
Look, I'm sorry to any other Mega Man fans out there that don't agree. Mega Man X is the only Mega Man story.
wait, that's the wrong way. Here we go.
I don't know. I think that's unfair because Battle Network and Legends are both good series.
But
Yeah,
see,
you-
I haven't played Battle Network, though. Like, I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is kind of like Saturday morning cartoon. And I was used to, like, the Mega Man X and the cartoon style they did for the series there.
Stop the work you're doing on Fallout and go play Battle Network already.
yeah,
Can it be emulated fairly well?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
It's Game Boy Advance.
So, does it have network emulation working properly?
Probably.
We'll have to look
Yeah,
into
I
that.
mean,
it should.
There's a fan project that's remaking or had remade thing. One of them in the series. I don't remember which one it's on right now,
Right.
but it's called Battle Network Chronos or some shit like that.
That's
It's,
going to be an unofficial sequel.
Oh no, it is.
Yeah.
But that's been looking really good since they first announced that they were working on that.
Might be
Yeah,
worth
another
checking
fan
out.
project that's probably larger than the original, but
Yeah, the thing about Mega Man games is you kind of have to go into it with the expectation that it's going to have a story, but that's not
Okay.
usually what you're going to care about. It's going to be mostly gameplay, which is the
It's-
same with the Battle Network.
It's
Well-
Mega Man X9 they're talking about releasing, right?
Right.
They're gauging
Okay.
interest on 11
Let
to
me
see
tell
how.
you. Let me tell you exactly how their marketing team can make sure X9 succeeds fantastically. You ready? Because all you have to do is add the subtitle. You know how movies will have a subtitle or something sometimes to really hook you in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mega Man X9, Mightier. Think about
Really,
that for a second.
really, you went there.
I went there. I went there. Because you know that screams Mighty Number 9 and just slaps it in the face.
You know what? Just for that.
Calms down.
I don't know. I think if I had to come up with a subtitle for it, it'd be Mega Man X9, not like X7.
That might be just as good. I don't know though. Like so many people were messed up, angry over Mighty Number 9. So I feel like Mightier, just a slap in the face, kind of like what Android and Apple do to each other.
I don't
But
know. I thought 11 already was a slap in the face to Mighty Number 9.
probably yeah. So we do have some interesting news today. Usually we have 3 topics. Today we're bringing 4. That extra layer of cake. Everyone likes having more cake on their plate. We're going to be covering some Fallout 76 stuff. Most of it's going to be Pete Hines on a Twitter hurricane of information. We're going to be talking about some Cyberpunk 2077, the Spider-Man graphics controversy, and Utility Man's bringing us some information about the Switch absolutely demolishing the Wii U, for better or worse.
Mhm.
So let's go ahead and jump into it. And we're going to lead off with the Fallout 76 information. So Pete Hines got into a huge response storm to players, which, first off, bravo to any people on Twitter or any social network that are in these companies that have a say. Just being out there and in the community is such a huge deal to me. Like back when I played League of Legends or Heroes of the Storm, it was always such a good feeling when they had community people and they're always keeping the energy up, being positive, and spreading good news. Like I think that's imperative to have a good community. Agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you see that. If you look at the Heroes of the Storm forums, people are always complaining that they don't have any community managers. They never see blue
All right,
posts.
so this is going to hit home hard for you on that. In order to have a need for a community manager, your community has to be larger than 10 players.
Well, I mean, there must be more than 10 players because I've gotten more than 10 people that have completely cost me a game. So
It's the same player on 10 accounts, put it that way. So
I
the
can believe that.
It's always utility.
so as you know, PAX
Hey.
West was happening, and everyone was hoping for some Fallout 76 videos, some more gameplay, because you'll notice lately a lot of the games coming out, it's this huge thing, this huge media push building hype, but they don't really show gameplay. It's all just hype building. Well, still no gameplay at PAX West. However, as I said, there were some Twitter confirmations on information. So difficulty settings. You remember last time we discussed 76, we talked about, everyone has different ways of playing. I personally refuse to play on anything but survival because it just
Yeah.
feels too easy otherwise. And that's one of the bigger problems with Fallout for me is no matter what difficulty you have it at, there's always this scale. It starts out like this, and you get a little bit better, a little bit stronger, and then you hit a point of no return. In Fallout 4, for me, that's around level 15. No matter what I build, at level 15, that's it. I'm done. Nothing can stop me now. And so the scaling sucks. That's why I like things like survival mode, where you have to care about more. Unfortunately, there are no difficulty settings for Fallout 76. Their justification was not being able to have different level characters for different players because it's multiplayer. Why can't we just have different difficulty server options, honestly?
I mean, I could see that being a thing, like easily if you were playing on hard server, then you only play with other people on hard server, etc., etc.
Right.
But as their launch multiplayer title for this, I don't think they want to jump that gap into how much server space they're spending, if that makes sense. I mean, you
Yeah, I
understand that
mean, because
because
you'd
X
have to
file
spin up like extra servers for every preference, basically, is what you're
exactly. I
saying.
mean, with WoW, it was always set for PvP, PvE, RP PvP, and RP PvE kind of bullshit,
Right.
and you know that. That's
Yeah.
how that worked.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
also possible that having difficulty settings creates more segregation there because you're going to have people that want to play on the hardest level, and they may have friends that don't want to play on the hardest level. So, not giving them that option there, there's no debate about what to do. This is the game, we're playing this.
Yeah. Now, the way
I
I feel
mean,
about it with the difficulty settings, my only problem with it is it caters to the least common denominator. For instance, if you ever remember going through grade school, right? And if you've gone to a public school, you'll recognize where I'm coming from. Let's say you're going
Yeah.
through a class that you understand it enough to keep up with the class, but then there's always like that one or two people who just don't get it. They just don't get it. And so the entire class comes screeching to a halt. Everyone gets bored and sleepy because they're going over stuff that people should know. Like, no, the territories in the United States are not actually color coded purple, green, and blue. They don't have purple, green, and blue dirt. That was a question that came up in one of
what?
my classes. Yes.
I mean, if not, I'm pretty sure I have like blue green dirt.
And so you run into the Largo, you're the reason this is happening. Thanks.
Well, he is from
I
Louisiana.
have the dirt.
So...
It's right there.
I have the dirt. It's right there. That should be a quote.
I have a jar of dirt.
We need a quote mod that. I have the dirt. It's right there.
A jar of dirt.
But that's kind of the analogy I bring to this is not having that difficulty puts you in that hard spot where if you're fairly good at games, not even like top player, but if you're fairly good at games, but a lot of your player base isn't, they're going to have to make the difficulty balance towards where most people are, right? And you don't really get a say in that. You may have to do that in Discord, by the way, Hidden Spike Trap. I think I disabled it in Twitch because I'm an idiot.
Dirt.
Yep.
Largos, we have the dirt.
So I know MMOs have solved that in several ways. WildStar is probably one of my favorite examples. You had the hard mode instances. Like you could do the instance normally, or you could do hard mode where the mechanics were actually different, more convoluted, and tighter timing. I would like to see something like that in here. I know you can nuke an area and the entire area levels up, but I would like to see some kind of hard mode engagement in some way as a gameplay option. What do you think?
I mean, I'm not planning on playing it, but I definitely think that should be a thing. I'm the type of person that normally goes and sets the difficulty on the hardest setting first, even if I've never played the game.
I don't
Because I
do
want to
that.
see what it's like.
I don't do that anymore. I used to. And then companies realized that I was going in and just picking the hardest mode every time without thought. And they figured, okay, we'll just make the harder difficulty pumped up health. That's everything becomes bullet sponges. And then it's like, it's not harder, it's just more tedious, right?
Well, it is, but I mean, I don't want to, sound like a braggart here, but so many games I've played, the hard mode is not actually hard. It's really not.
No.
It's just, everything's going to do 5 times more damage. That's not really harder difficulty. That's artificial difficulty.
Right. And I think we've had this discussion so many times, and I 100% agree with you. But imagine what they could do if they had gameplay difficulty for Fallout. Take something like the Death Claw. It's supposed to bait and walk. Oh my.
Oh my gosh. You have to stop to read that out loud.
I had to. So imagine something like the Death Claw. That normally charges at you and claws you, right? Now, let's say maybe harder difficulty, they weave or they dive at you in ways that you have to be very specific in your timing to dodge. Like, it can be done. I'm sure this is going to have to wait until modding, though. And I feel like the developers are probably going to be banking a lot on adding features people like through community modding, which, as we know, is not going to be out for a while.
Okay, so nobody else is saying it. I'm going to say it. Is the Death Claw what you bait and walk away with?
You get the Death Claw eggs from it.
Show's over.
Show's over. Thanks for coming, everybody. The second thing is, well, on that note, there's rumors that there might be some scaling based on the population of the server, so we'll see how that goes. Now for some good news. Because, as you know, we're all going to be playing this as a group. We're all going to be playing Fallout 76 as a group. If you want in on that, feel free to join our Discord. Link should be down there. Discord.fortiscoregaming.com. Got a nice group going. I'm going to be a chef with a knife from the Order of the Ham, which the Order of the Ham shortened is Tooth. So you stab the non-foods and you cook the foods.
Don't forget to add your dirt to that.
But
I remember you mentioning you were looking for a name for your chef.
yeah, the best I could come up with was like sirloins, but that's like way overplayed.
See, now I gave you the perfect name. You just got to know how to spell it.
Oh my god. What was that name again? Oh, yeah. No, I'll just put like my name will be stereotypical French laugh.
See, I would do that. I would do that.
I should do that. I'll probably get banned for like hate speech or something, but the stereotypical French laugh, that could work. So we are going to have multiple character slots. This is something I was really worried about because
I mean, I can't help it. When I think of a chef, I think of a French chef.
Okay.
It's not an insult. It's a good thing.
Hidden Spike Trap, I will make that the name. Just remind me in Discord. Ping me or something.
Why do I feel like I need to make something like Hammite or something?
Are you going to be in the Order of the Ham as well?
No, I'm just throwing names out there for you.
Nice. So back on track. We got a show to run, guys. We will have multiple character slots. This is huge for me because this is what I was worried about.
Can I have Bacon Night if I do?
You can have Bacon Night. You better be quick so no one else takes it.
I'll tell you what you do. You somehow make an orc character and you name them Green Legs and Ham.
You guys got problems. You know that?
No, these are all answers for us. These are answers to the problems of not having names.
So my major concern was, okay, we've got a group of people going. There's going to be a temptation for when people have to log off, whoever's still online, to keep playing, especially if they're having fun. So having multiple character slots allows me to have that single character that I play through the game and maybe even progress faster than the multiplayer character. And I know Zalbathar was really excited about this because he's the kind of guy that will sit down and play a game for 48 hours like pooping and peeing in his computer chair just to get as high up as he can, as fast as he can. I'm sorry, Zalbathar, for spreading your private information, but...
And you think the things I and Largo have said we're going to throw away viewers? That will turn away viewers.
Well, Zalbathar's not...
know that.
Think about it this way. Zalbathar's not here right now, so now is probably the safest place to be here.
Let's see. At Zald.
Loot containers are going to be randomized for players. Not everyone's going to find the same thing in the same places.
So you have instance drops then.
Instance drops, yep. That's exactly... How do you guys feel about that?
There's mixed reviews for that, personally. Like, I agree in a sense. Like, I liked it in Diablo 3 because you didn't just get shit on when you dropped the boss and it didn't drop anything particularly for you, so everyone always kind of got something. Whereas in the Diablo 2 mentality, since it was all at once fell, anybody who had the weaker PC where it didn't generate fast enough didn't get shit.
Yeah.
So
I do remember like playing Phantasy Star as a ranged character. One of my favorite characters was I forget what the class was called, but it was someone who used ranged guns. And one of the big problems was like when bosses were about to die, you had to like quickly run up and stop attacking just so you could be up there in the fray to try to pick up any loot before the melee people took everything, which is dumb. So I'm glad they're adding the instance loot for that. What about the randomized locations, right? Like, so you can't say traditionally in Fallout, right? They've got like these named weapons that are very special, like a very special shotgun that can only be found in a specific locker in a specific vault if you do a specific thing. And that, apparently, from what I'm hearing, that's not going to exist now. So it's going to be a lot more open-ended.
That's disappointing. It really is. Again, I've never been much of a Fallout person, but I think the discovery makes it such a great thing. You just happen upon this item there's only one of. Maybe it makes the game easier or whatnot, but the fact that you can say, I found this, and there's only one of it. Why would they get rid of that?
because it's taking on the MMO mentality where certain things drop things instead of it being, well, this one locker in this one spot drops this one thing. So unless it's like a quest related thing for you to get that item, then what's the difference at that point?
Well, that's what it sounds like. Like, they haven't specifically come out and said it. I still see room for them to add very specific lore-driven items. That's one thing that I think Fallout 4 actually did well, was lore-driven items that you go through, like going down into the quarry to get the Cthulhu, H.P. Lovecraft sacrificial dagger. Had a lot of story behind it. I could still see that kind of thing happening through questing, but the open world loot doesn't sound like it's going to have it. So I guess that's where I stand. I hope they do it at least through the questing. Maybe you pick up a holotape that leads you on a journey that gets you a unique item, but we'll just have to see.
I don't know. I like a mix of both. Traditionally, when I think MMOs, I don't think you just find a really good weapon here. I always think there's a quest for it. But games like Fallout added that little bit extra to the discovery aspect of it. Oh, I would have never thought to look here, and there's an amazing weapon. I like that kind of thing.
Yeah, in Fallout games, I love my lore being attached to my equipment. I couldn't tell you, like, a perfect example in Fallout 4. The leader of the Brotherhood has an amazing leather jacket. It's like one of my favorite pieces of armor in the game. But you as a player only have like one opportunity to get it, and that's when you kill him, so you can't side with the Brotherhood. And I found that to be like so cool because you're lowering the ability to grab it. You're telling players where it's at basically. This guy has unique loot, and you can only get it if you do this particular thing, and it raises the value of it. Like, there's an intrigue there. Like, even if you didn't like the leather jacket before, being told that the only way you can get it is by opting out of this other stuff, there's an intrigue that comes along with that piece of armor. Now you're more interested.
And then you got the people like me that try to optimize getting it regardless.
That's true.
I.e. doing 99% of the questing and then doing the one thing that lets you get it before it's too late.
Look, let me tell you, there's one character in the game, in Fallout 4. I think it was Paladin Brandis or something. I forget his name. But it was an old Brotherhood guy who lives in a cave, and he's like, all of the rest of the people on his crew died off or whatever. He has the only obtainable black colored Brotherhood jumpsuit in the game, and there's only one point in the game you can actually get it. You can steal it from him if I remember correctly, but you have to have like your I forget, thievery or whatever high enough to do it at that time. And if you don't, you miss out. You cannot get that. It doesn't add anything to the game, really. There's already green and orange jumpsuits that are exactly the same. I restarted an 80-hour playthrough once I found that out, just so that I wouldn't miss out on it.
I do that same thing.
Because I could keep playing perfectly fine, but in the back of my head, I'm constantly thinking, I missed out on unique loot. I missed out. Like, eats away at you.
I'm not that obsessed with unique loot unless it's convenient. Like, if I find out that I'm at that exact point in time where I've got to make the decision, then I'll go look it up. But if I've already passed it and gone 12 hours past it, I'm not worried about it. I'm like, well, I missed that. Who cares?
Well, I also do that kind of thing for optimization. Back when I played WoW, to bring that up again, if I would make, like, let's say, I'm trying to think the best. If I would make a Tauren hunter, let's just say something random, and I'd get to like level 30, and then I'd go read, oh, they're saying Orc Hunter is really the best way to go. Well, remade character. I'm going to remake that into an orc.
I was the same way. And you remember they were for a long time the best absolute pet. This is completely off topic. I'm sorry for derailing the show, but it's what we're best at. The best absolute pet for the longest time was that one panther or lion or tiger or something around the Tauren starting area. I forget its name.
Oh yeah, in Mulgore. I remember that now.
So
don't ask me its name. I don't remember that.
Yeah,
but I remember the pet.
I don't remember that, but I gave up on a pet I put a lot of time and energy in just to grab that, and level it up from 1. So I understand the optimization and the feeling of missing out driving you.
And then the next expansion came out. You found out that Beast Mastery had other unique pets like Devil Saurs. Then you scrapped all your other ones for those.
Yep. There's just some innate desire to gain an advantage, but also gain something unique. And so, to what Hidden Spy Trap said earlier, hoping there's good rewards for exploration, that's what I'm looking for. I'm hoping that they have something unique in them.
I'm just saying, there were underestimated pets too. Like
That's true.
The rhinos that we obviously named Woolly Booger.
Of course.
That would knock people off of Lumber Mill.
I mean, what other? Yeah.
All they would do was charge people off the cliff. And it was the best thing ever.
The hunters always knew. Like, everyone in the party knew. It's like, oh, we got some hunters, Lumber Mill's covered.
Yeah, no, it's fun. Just sit up there, stealth, and then...
Pretty much.
All right, so this next topic, I understand why they did it, but it worries me. Monster tagging. Anyone who participates in a fight will get loot. Participating in a fight, it means nothing more than basically shooting the enemy. Think about it. What's your opinion on that?
It's like an I showed up award.
That's how I
feel. The I showed up award would be it not being tagged at all. And you say, I walked up, did 99% of the health. You decided to show up at the last 1%, shot it. You still got credit. But utility, he was waiting in the background like a little bitch. And then the monster went down. Since he didn't add a bullet into it, he gets jack.
And see, that's where I say I understand why they did it. My concern, and JD could speak on this quite well because he was a huge Ragnarok Online player. Boosting. Taking someone who's low level to a place they shouldn't be and just one-shotting monsters that are way over their level to get them loot. I feel like that's a real concern.
That happens in like almost every MMO. So I don't know if I would say it's so much of a concern. I guess it depends on the type of game, but I see that all the time in MMOs, and that never really bothered me, except for the fact that when I'm on the same quest or something, and there's like this level 100 there killing everything where I can't get anything.
Oh, like when they're spawn camping and you can't even complete your quest because the thing's just dead too much?
See,
that I hate.
I don't mind boosting in general like that. It's as long as you know people that want to come and help you out and do that, then sure. Who cares? I mean, technically, even in Monster Hunter World, you can do it. Mm-hmm. As long as X person has a high enough rank so that they can encounter the boss, even if they don't have the gear to kill it, your friends can come in and still kill it for you. You can still loot it. You still get rewards for it. But what's the difference at that point? All they're trying to do is help you catch up to where they're at so that you can all play together.
Right.
I'm okay with that. However, I personally, in the situation where I'm the low level, I don't want to bother them at that point. I'd rather farm my own shit, but that's just how I play.
See, I don't like being given handouts either, but a lot of people do. They don't want to play a game. They just want to hit max level.
Yeah, I mean, but if that's how they want to experience the game, what's the harm in it at that point? The only side thought to that is just like Ryan said, as long as people aren't just on farm with everything everyone needs to kill.
Yeah.
Like if you need to farm Hodes for whatever reason.
Going
back to the Ragnarok reference.
Couldn't you argue that Bethesda should incentivize not boosting for the simple fact that their success is going to be decided by playtime? And if someone gets boosted up really fast, they're going to play a lot less and maybe even enjoy the game less because it's almost like using a Game Shark at that point, right? Like, so Final Fantasy X, perfect example. I played that for weeks on end. My brother played it for a day, used Game Shark from the get-go, and never touched it again. So who could you say got the most value out of the game? And as a business, that's what they're trying to give you, is that value. So if you're removing playtime by allowing characters to kind of boost themselves up, you're allowing players to remove value from their own game. Does that make sense? Is that a decent argument?
It is a rather decent argument. But again, it's because we're in this MMO-esque, variant where the entire end game of this is going to wind up being the gear and your own survivability. Someone's going to get a hand up. That person's going to help his friend or her friend get to a point where they're about on equal terms before they move on. Like
I can see that, like in co-op. I absolutely understand that.
Then you're not going to change anybody's mind on that. It's like if I joined Fallout 76 with you, then I'm going to want to play the same level character as you. You might get the better gear, and I probably will let you have the better gear because I'm a masochist kind of player where I want to have the weakest gear to fight the strongest enemy.
That's how I am. Yep.
And so eventually it's gonna be to the point where I can't kill anything, where you're murdering everything, and then I'm gonna need the hand-me-downs regardless.
And Hidden Spy Trap is bringing up another argument. It's thing is though, would someone who likes being boosted play at all if boosting wasn't included? Would they even get the money in the first place? And that's something to consider. Like thinking back to the Final Fantasy X example, my brother who played it for a day and used Game Shark, would he have actually played the game if Game Shark wasn't available? And I think in many cases you're probably right on that. So I'll concede that.
I mean, I see that a little bit differently because Final Fantasy X is a single-player game.
I was going to bring that up in a minute.
Yeah, people just play it however they want. I think when you're focusing on the multiplayer aspect, the main importance is playing with your friends. And if you can't play with your friends because they're like 30 levels higher than you, you may just not even bother.
Okay, you know what? I'll concede some more ground here. I think you guys are helping change my mind. Like I think I might have been worried about something I didn't need worry, because Terraria, perfect example. It was a game you play with your friends. I remember jumping in to one of our servers when I was really busy at one of my old jobs and I didn't have as much time to play, and people would always make sure to like leave me armor just so that I would be at the level they are, so when I did have time to play I could participate in the same content as them. So I'll concede. I think that's a really strong point to make.
Well, see, on the second side of that exact experience, well, when I tried to play Terraria, I didn't get that kind of thing. I didn't get the hand-me-downs that actually meant anything.
Right.
And everyone's already at super power boost, 9,000.
And you're running around in like copper gear.
And, well, I mean, so the only thing I could do is either mine the floor or try to kill Ray. And obviously I know what choice I made.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, like,
really
that's
a bad choice.
I mean, my only choice was then to try to drown some people in random water because I didn't have anything and I didn't understand the content because everything was just handed to me not handed to me.
The good news is, if boosting does get seen somehow as being a negative impact on some future content we're not even thinking of, the good news is because loot is instanced, they could easily just put in the leveled list like they already have, so that, if you're level 5 and you're getting kill credit on a level 1000 enemy, maybe levels 2 through 8 items drop for you, but people of level get their correct level loot drop. So there's ways to pull levers and fix that.
The other question for that is trading still allowed, or dropping random gear for other people to pick up?
Trading is going to be a huge part of 76. A huge part.
Well, then, even if your level 2 buddy can't do it, then they're still going to be able to be traded said gear from higher level player.
That's true.
Who cares what level items drop from the level 1000 monster for the level 5 or 6, because it's probably going to be level gated anyway, like
either level gated
or something.
Either that or like stat gated, where you have to spec into strength to wield certain things.
Right. Yeah, so who cares if they have the item? They can have the item for later when they're of level, and that gives them something else to build towards if they want to go that route.
Okay.
Who's saying Mr. Chain Gun doesn't need a chain gun? He could use a fork or something and call himself Ham Hocks.
Okay, so I think after talking,
still on the ham thing.
Yeah, always on the ham. We're never not. So I think after talking to you guys, I feel a lot better about the way tagging works. I think I'm a lot less worried about it, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Now, ammo. Talking about our stats earlier, specifically strength. If you're a Fallout fan, you know all about carry weight limitations. That's still going to be in the game. There's going to be perks surrounding that, and each different kind of ammo is going to have weight to it. Thoughts on weighted ammo putting you down?
Depends on what side of the survival tree you're on. If you're on the, yes, I want my game harder, I really want to play this for survival, then ammo should be weighted. I mean, you have to carry it around. Yeah, that's part of inventory management. If you're on the other side, where you're just like, well, I just want to walk around, shoot things, and have fun with friends, then maybe ammo shouldn't be weighted. You know, it's the same thing between saying, like, do you want a regular server or a hardcore server?
Right. That's true.
Whether you want one life or you want as many lives as you can get.
I've only played a couple games where your equipment's weight mattered, so I don't really have too much of an opinion on it, but I did like it when I had it. It made it more strategic.
It's inventory management specifically.
Yeah, I like that.
But it's more than just inventory management, because there's also a balancing aspect to that. Like in the Fallout universe, you could have a gun with really weak, lightweight ammo but carry a ton of it, or you can have a mini nuke with these heavy nuclear-sized nukes. Nuclear-sized nukes, everybody! But you could carry around a couple of those at the cost of not having extra med pack room or extra food room or things like that. So you could carry around this massive, strong, explosive nuclear device, but you have to sacrifice to do that. So I think there's a really good balancing aspect to that.
Or you could carry a noisy cricket.
You could carry a noisy cricket, yep.
Oh, there you go.
I'll stick to the 4.
The other thing is, as far as the base building, you can build most places, quotation, most places. There's going to be places that are cut off for grieving, like you're not going to be able to block off important entryways and things like that. I think that's good.
That's a deal breaker for me. Obviously, I need to break the front door. Like I have to stack boxes in front of everything.
Stack boxes in front of everything.
My inner fear guy is required to do so.
So can I be like that episode of Rocko's Modern Life where I go into my friend's house and change every room there into a bathroom?
You could if you're on the same party. Team building is actually one of the...
Okay, I'm for it.
Not team building, but, team space building. Team building is going to be an aspect of it. So, like, everyone gets their own size plot they can make. And I'm thinking in my head, if you had a group of people who were smart and working together, you could make a rather large base by just... Hey, you're going to build this sector. You're going to build this sector. I'll build the main entrance for my plot. That'd be kind of cool.
This just sold me on something. If you have a group of 4, all 4 people have to have their own individual places, and then you have to have the team building.
The team building.
That's nothing but bathrooms.
So I'm just going to say
like
delegating
team building.
Everyone has to have their own bathroom, and they might as well be in the team building.
If anyone has watched us play Overcooked on Sundays, delegating a specific area to one person never works out well.
It doesn't work for you.
It's supposed to work. We'll put it that way.
It's supposed to work.
And then, of course, the nukes, they've done a little bit more clarification on that. I think they've covered this before, but you're not going to be able to target a person particularly with the nuke. You target a plot of land, and if anyone happens to be on that plot of land, they get a warning with enough time to leave so that they don't get nuked. So basically, if anyone dies to a nuke, it's because they're being dumb.
So they took the StarCraft mentality for that.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're getting at. Yeah, that's what they did.
But I'm going to miss the AI targeting my lone dragoon with a nuke.
But if I have the gun, what's stopping me from just pointing it at my feet and launching it for everybody that's on my patch of land?
I'll tell you what they need. They need a nuke gun where you could rocket jump with it. Like, imagine how much ground you could cover, and how many pieces you might be in as a result. But still,
I'm pretty sure
if you
when
are
the
launching
nuke goes off at your feet, you'll rocket
your
jump.
decision.
Extreme cartography. You go flying all over the map.
How much of a warning would I actually get if I launched it at my feet?
I don't think
If you're saying
you would just get like a Resident Evil "you died" pop up. There would be no warnings.
I think that's the Dark Souls "you died," not the Resident Evil.
Or yeah. What did Resident Evil say when you died? I thought it said you died too.
I think it says you died as well, but
I guess people don't make that connection. I'm too old school.
yeah, more people would make the Dark Souls connection these days.
You could just launch the nuke at your feet, blow yourself up, and instantly get the World Explorer achievement because, part of you's over there, part of you's over there. I've been everywhere.
And you just get like 17 secret area found achievements popped up.
Please tell me there's a an achievement that sprayed your ass everywhere.
Probably don't know. Don't have any word on achievements. I'm sure there's going to be some goofy ones though, because
Yeah,
Fallout.
JD, is there any ass achievements?
Oh my god.
Here's where
Seriously.
we're at now.
Fallout 4 has actually had some really good achievements. Like most games, the achievements are pretty much like "good job, you've played the game" achievements, but Fallout 4 had some really good ones. So I'm looking forward to see what they do on that regard. No word on it yet. Now for the final piece, which I think everyone kind of knew, Fallout 5. They've reiterated. They did the guys. I promise, Fallout 5 is going to be single player focused thing. So
So they
that,
pulled a Pokemon.
to me, saying Fallout 5 is going to be single player is kind of like a non-statement. Like I don't think anyone thought Fallout 5 was going to be multiplayer. I think everyone's concern is that they're going to take design ideas from this experiment 76 and put them in Fallout 5. So to me, that statement doesn't really do anything.
I think it's just damage control, honestly.
Damage control, maybe to
It's the same thing they did with Pokemon. They came out and said, "Okay, we're gonna have a mainline game. It will not be like Let's Go."
yeah, that's fair. So that's it for the Fallout 76 news that I've got. I'm still looking forward to it. Beta starts in next month, actually. Jeez, it's coming up close. Mid next month. And only people who bought the game are going to be in it. So it's really more like a pre-release than a beta. But, whatever.
I feel the pay for beta is kind of like we went over this a long time ago. Pay for beta is kind of like a shitty turnout.
I agree. I think it's dumb, but what can I do? Beta, just as the definition of beta, has been completely demolished. The beta just means whatever a developer wants it to mean now, anyways. So I stopped caring a long time ago.
It's early access with the ability to reset your status.
Yeah, pretty much.
It is.
Yep. So next up, Cyberpunk 2077, and I've ordered this right after Fallout because while Fallout 76 is going to be bringing us multiplayer to the Fallout universe, after watching that trailer, have you guys seen this Cyberpunk reveal trailer?
I've seen all of the Cyberpunk trailer.
Yeah,
I have not. Actually.
I'll probably go ahead and play that trailer if I can. Actually, just
Now this is not that 45 minutes of video, right?
You're not talking about the 50 minutes of actual gameplay, huh?
oh yeah. I am. I'm gonna skip past the nudity. I think, just in case, because this stuff goes on YouTube. So
you're gonna leave out the part everyone came here to see. We got you.
Yep. So I'll just have this playing while we talk about it.
Just look how gorgeous that is, though.
Isn't it? So to me, Cyberpunk 2077 is everything I liked about Fallout that Bethesda took out and repackaged in a more futuristic corporate world rather than post-apocalyptic. I am sold on this game. Like 1,000% sold on this game.
So I guess the question is, how do you feel about the game still taking the main synopsis of style over substance and make it or fake it until you can make it?
What do you mean?
Well, that's the entire premise of how Cyberpunk, as far as the tabletop game goes. It's you always start out with next to nothing.
Right.
Like your character creation is who you are, and it's your job to show the world of how good at something you are. If you aren't good at something, you can still talk your way through stuff to try to make you seem better than you are at it.
Right.
I.e., the fake it till you make it.
I like it because when you start from nothing, what you do get is endless possibility for who you will become. Whereas, like, that was one of the big pressure points on Fallout 4. People either loved it or they hated it. The spoken narrative. People felt like it took them out because they started with a specific vocal tone and a way of responding to people in that game. It took away some of the player agency to decide how I want to sound as this player, because you come out of Vault 111 looking for your kid and your wife and or husband. Well, maybe not and, but or husband. And like it has a very set backstory that you don't really get to influence. Whereas something like Cyberpunk, like in the character creation portion of this, you decide everything. You decide what your backstory is. They don't tell you, look, you got some kid named Sean, go out into the wasteland and ignore it for a while. They say, what is your backstory? And you fill it out. Even including childhood heroes, I think was one of the things that popped up. And if I'm not mistaken, Todd Howard was a choice, by the way.
I don't remember that, but okay.
It's in my mind.
But, okay, fine. But like even the scene that they're playing right now in the camera, you're dealing with a fixer, which is someone who's basically just giving you a job, but you have to prove to him that you can do another job before you get the real job. He's getting free work out of you no matter what.
He's armed and dangerous. Get it?
You are. No, he's just dangerous and has arms. You're getting that confused. But I love how they depict his cyber arm in here, of how straightforward it is. Because at least in the tabletop game, you can get real skin of a cyber mod to take up one of its sockets, so that it reduces the the empathy value that you lose from having a cybernetic piece of gear. Obviously, he did not for that in his slot. But
can I just point out the way people are walking is so realistic? Like if you actually watch the crowds are amazing in this game, but they all have kind of like their own swagger, their own way of walking that's very humanistic.
Well, did you also notice that so far in the trailer or in this gameplay reveal, there's only been one duplicated character that people have caught on to yet?
In the crowds?
Yeah,
that's impressive.
And we skipped past the point where it showed it, but they have a. I'm sure that you'll pick up more and more when you're actually playing the game,
right?
Because of how character generation works. But I'm trying to see if there's one right here right now, because I haven't gone through again since they showed that.
But it's so impressive though. Like it looks like it's alive. Like I don't know if you guys played Assassin's Creed, but when they started adding more crowds, like that was such a groundbreaking thing. But if you look at the Assassin's Creed crowds, they have like a cookie cutter set of archetypes. Sure. Right. And those were what was like copy and pasted all over. And in here, it seems they might also do that, but there's so many that it's super realistic. And if you think about it, even in the real world, like trends happen, right? Like if you go down, and it's worse if you're out in California, like if you would walk down Santa Monica, people look like they're from one of these games because they all look exactly the same. But like here, where I live, you walk down the street and people look different, but some people do dress the same way or have the same styles. And so having like one every now and then that's the same is not only okay, but makes more sense to me.
Oh, they did point out that this chick right here might be a reference to Pulp Fiction.
Really?
Yeah. But knowing the Cyberpunk universe, I don't believe that's true. But I wouldn't put it past them to use this as that opportunity to make that reference.
I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of references.
There's going to be so many references like that. I mean, CD Projekt Red.
But they go out of their way to make everything explainable, even the HUD. Something that you take for granted in any first-person game, because Cyberpunk obviously is a first-person game. You take for granted having like health display and gunshot or ammo display, all that. They explain that in the story why you can see that stuff on your HUD.
The thing is, like, because of cyberware, everything as far as character UI is explainable.
Yep.
And I guess the question is V starting out with cybernetic eyes and a neuroware set, or is
the way I look at it is these two characters, right? The one doing the implants and V talk as if they've known each other a while. So it's a safe assumption for a player to make that says, okay, I've already got some kind of implants in me more than likely if I've known this guy.
Well, I mean, it's going to show you. I know it's going to show you right here where he's going to rip her eyeball out and actually upgrade it.
Yes.
Because the cyber eye is right there in the thing where he just put it in.
Okay, I want you to watch this, though. Like, this is so cool. Like, when he changes.
It's fantastic.
Utility, did you say you have not seen this yet?
No, I have not seen this.
You're cringing because you're waiting for the eye plucking, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's not going to be like that. It's not going
No,
to. It's not. Just watch. Just watch. It's great. So I wonder if you could get a cybernetic nose, so you could just like swipe through and like pick your nose.
I mean, obviously, I don't know if they're going to let you go that deep in this, but like, she's getting a I forget
A
what the
vision
actual
upgrade.
is called.
Just put it that
Well,
way.
she's also getting a smart link for her guns in her arm.
Yep, that's going to
So she's getting
happen.
both at once, which is what's going on in her hand right there, where he's got to neutralize her hand.
Okay, so first off, let me ask you guys in chat and also you two. Would you put your arm under one of these, even if you knew that like you'd come out stronger?
No.
It
Like, could you imagine just willingly putting your arm into a device you know is about to rip into your flesh and tendons?
again, with the knowledge that he's gonna to sedate that arm for a prolonged period of time, and I'm not gonna feel the shit out of it.
Here we
sure,
go. Here we
let's go.
go.
Bye.
Vision
gosh.
gone. Vision gone. But here comes the uplink. Hello, Dragon Mom. There you go. Now
Hey,
you're
Mila, welcome.
Now
now
walked in at the wrong time.
now you are looking through the cybernetic eye. How
Yep.
cool is that?
You are now linked into that eye, and that's now going in your head. Bloop.
So, the strange thing is, I can watch Mortal Kombat fatality after fatality. It doesn't bother me, but that kind of makes me cringe. Like, I
That-
don't want to see that.
Really?
Oh, just saying, getting a cybernetic eye. Can I help you?
I know, but still.
Like
Here,
all the
come on.
characters just
Get out of
feel
the way.
like
Dream Cat.
all the characters just feel like they are real people. Like I was telling you guys before the show, my mom watched this when I was watching this trailer. She
Rough,
was
Mom.
she crossed her eyes across the screen and then she sat down and pulled up a chair and watched it like it was a movie. That should tell you something. That should tell you something about the way this look how cool I would do that.
Basically, what that does is while the gun is in your hand, there's a specific. Not all guns have it. Her pistol right here is depicted as supposed to be having it, and so you get additional accuracy because there's some kind of tapered line to your brain, which it'll help you also between target recognition and angle of gun, angle of blood, and it calculates all that for you, so you can actually hit your targets better.
Right.
I mean, it's a game, so I don't think it's going to mean that in game translation, but that's what it's supposed to be.
All right, so you saw she just inhaled some kind of pharmaceutical. Let me ask you, Largo, because I know in the Fallout universe, chems play a fairly large part of it.
If you're about to ask how much drugs play in Cyberpunk,
I'm guessing
A
a
lot.
lot. Is the tabletop all about drugs or?
I mean, you have three major things. You have corporations, you have cops, and you have drugs. Well, gangs, which are also tied to drugs, and
I'm guessing corruption is everywhere.
you really have to
Backstabbing.
ask that.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't need
This
to
is a
ask.
corporation-run world. Of course, corruption's everywhere.
I see a butt in the background. You see that?
Yep, you see it. The JD would be proud.
JD would be proud.
Oh, I saw that part.
But there's one thing in this that I'm not sure that I like,
What's that?
because they're about to go to her or Jamie here's vehicle. I don't know
Right.
why I call him Jamie, but to me, the road play where you're driving the car and everything,
Right.
the roads themselves feel smaller than I feel like they should.
Cramped, maybe.
That's a nitpick on me, because like I know Cyberpunk's all about technically smaller streets and there's not as many cars on the road because every city is so fucking cramped up
I want
because
the
there's
car
so many
though.
buildings and shit.
I want this
But,
car.
like, oh, this car's fantastic.
I could build that tech, by the way. I know how to project images from sensor data onto a dashboard. So if anyone wants to fund me to upgrade my car with this kind of tech, just hit me up on
If you want-
that Patreon.
If you want to go add to mine, then fund his Patreon and he will fly out, and then I will get it.
Yeah, I would fly out and do that. Like
Yeah,
I know how to add this kind of tech. It's not hard. We have all the sensors in the world. You just have to wire it up.
Just look how thin the road kind of feels in this scenario. Like, it's really not, but
Okay, this part right here did kind of excite me, but it also worried me. Like where, okay, the passenger takes over. Now you're shooting in a very fast moving vehicle. I almost feel like, and maybe it's just because I'm not
Well, look,
used to anybody doing this right, but I feel like this is only going to be like scripted events.
I do you realize that the car actually jumped when it hit the dead body, or the
Yeah.
body that ran out of the car?
Yep.
That was the attention to detail.
Poor guy getting run over. Okay, so never mind the fact he was just shooting at your face with very deadly projectiles. Poor guy. Poor guy.
Hey, you don't know he was poor. He might have been a rich guy.
Uh,
Probably.
in Cyberpunk, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. I would love to have that car though. It's like, it's almost got like that DeLorean feel, but for a new age.
But yeah, um, the depiction of this is already saying that you can do your missions, your jobs, whatever you want, as you see it and as you want to see it. So I'm not sure if the the gang chasing you right there is actually a scripted event or just a random occurrence. Because in Cyberpunk, random occurrences of people just attacking you out of left field are normal.
But you don't you think there is room for that to potentially just be kind of like a gimmick, the whole jump out your window and start shooting people while driving?
Yeah, it could be, but again, it depends on what kind of encounter scaling they have for the game. Like, I know there's an entire chart that you roll on as a DM for the regular tabletop game to what you find between what hours of day
So
in Cyberpunk.
so let's talk
Whether it be
about this world design because I'm noticing something that this is doing better than Bethesda. And Bethesda's always been kind of like the world design leaders in the industry. But I'm noticing in here there's a lot of elevation, there's a lot of highs, there's a lot of lows, there's a lot of intricate alleyways and overhangs and tunnels. This world feels very alive to me. Like there's
yeah,
so much dynamic between, like I was saying, the heights, the distances, the railway systems. Like
and
even this scene right here, like look at this as you look around. You're not looking at flat land that just expands onward and onward. It's very nuanced.
and I'm gonna point out that that will allow the different gun plays that you'll have throughout the game. Because technically, in this exact situation, as V, you probably could have stood up top where you were and sniped the solos that she has, the guards she has with her,
Yeah, I could see that.
easily, and that would have been a specific turn of events. But it's not like you didn't agree to meet with this person, so it's kind of up in the air. There, you can see how his gun was tailored to him for a second too.
So do we know when this is actually launching?
No, we still don't have a launch date.
Before the stream of this started, they had a huge code going across the Twitch stream. I was really hoping that it was going to be like a data encode image because a lot of studios do that. Apparently, if you spend all the time to compile all that code together, it's actually nothing, and they've come out and said, "No, it's nothing." I was disappointed. People spent so much time trying to figure out what it meant.
But you know what they did do? In a single frame, in the opening of, I believe this, there is a screen that tells you we're sorry for keeping everything quiet for so long, and an
Yep.
entire apology from them too.
But I don't mind that they kept it quiet because it allows you to have these moments like this. It's very controlled hype, but it's hype nonetheless.
And I mean, they didn't really release this as a non-thought either. Like, they only released it because of the gauge of hype they kind of got from, uh, what was it?
Oh, right.
PAX and Game Asia and
Yeah, I
whatnot.
remember reading about that. Something about they had no intention of releasing anything, but they were kind of like putting their toe in the water and got the right people to say you should do it,
Yeah.
basically.
I'm still really happy that they decided to go first person shooter with this, even though I feel like I might have liked it better as a third person.
Hmm.
But the way Cyberpunk is immersive to me can only really be done right in a first person.
Looking through two
So
eyes, yeah. I could see that. A lot of people, that's a point of contention for a lot of people because there are a lot of very anti first person shooter players that were really not happy about this being first person. If you looked at the Reddit, like lots of complaints.
I
seen
think
that.
after people get their hands on this, they will probably change their mind.
Could you imagine this coming with something like VR support?
Do you want me to lock myself away for so long that I never see the light of day again?
That would be, if this game is everything it seems like it's going to be. VR support would be the one thing that could nudge me over the edge to buy VR before the next gen.
I have a feeling that after a time, even if it's not at launch, this will have VR support.
Well, especially if you look at like the comparisons I've drawn, how this has everything that Fallout is getting rid of, like the story driven narrative, the truly divergent dialogues and choose your own adventure outcomes that Fallout's getting rid of. This game is completely based around, and Fallout had VR support eventually.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a very natural next step. Now they haven't come out and said anything about VR. This is all speculation for anyone curious, but I can't imagine a world where this game succeeds and they don't entertain VR down the line.
Probably.
So I'm gonna drop a slight. I guess it's a worry for this game,
All right.
and because I know that the regular tabletop game is such a class-based system, and I'm sure they're gonna have that incorporated in here. I'm just wondering how many people are going to pick up this game and just, without thinking, go solo. And what solo is it's basically the major combat class of the tabletop game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get ridiculous bonuses to your initiative and combat perception, basically. To anything that would sense to see if combat's coming or whatnot, you get alerts, basically, easily.
All right.
And it also pays some of the most money in the game for doing your quote-unquote day job.
Well, didn't they say
that
the class system is going to be a lot more open-ended? Like, it's not going to be a choose your class and go?
Yes, they did say that, but at the same time, it's like, I'm wondering, just based on current experience, about, even if it is an open-ended system for that at the start of the game, it's not like people can't just choose those specific things that would be the closest to that class. And as a heavy combat major, like, someone without a cyber eye probably wouldn't have picked that up right there. The fucking mines.
Okay, I want to say, like, as you're watching this part of the preview is what really, really stuck in my mind. Because one of the most fun ways for me to play Fallout 4 and previous Fallout games was as a stealth character. And what they're previewing here gets my hopes up on providing really engaging stealth mechanics with things like these traps around, the way that the NPCs patrol, that you can watch and move around very quietly and secretly. Like, I could see this being a really fun stealth game too.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be. Basically, the way I see this is it's going to be a play your own way. Again, kind of not unlike Deus Ex.
The way Fallout was meant to be.
Like, Deus Ex was always played in kind of a similar any way you want, but you still had that main storyline,
right?
And you still had your way to tackle each obstacle.
It was it was like choice on rails, best way to put it.
Yeah. But what I wound up doing for that is, okay, well, whatever generated me EXP, I'm getting it. I.e., explore every map, every way possible, make sure I have access to everything, and still murder everybody in the building. Like, I just wanted to get the most EXP as fast as possible, and that's how I wanted playing it.
Let me ask you, in the tabletop, are you able to, like, spec into any thieving to, like, steal armor and stuff from people?
I mean, you are, but you've got to realize it's not...
That would be interesting.
It's not as it's up to your DM about how liberal some things go.
Because I want to tell you about, like, one of my Fallout New Vegas playthroughs. Most of the NPCs on that save are like walking around in their underwear and they don't even know it, because I was just like collecting clothes. So I wonder if anything ridiculous like that can be done here.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past CD Projekt Red to have done that, but I'm sure at some point after you've disarmed them, they're going to realize it.
Oh, now
But
this
again,
is cool. Like this right here is going to show off their animation team. Is what this is. You see this? That robot, the way it moves. They've got some top-notch animators. Look at that. Every little detail.
for how long they're spending on this, of course they do.
And then there it goes on the ceiling. Yep. I'm impressed all around. I'm so impressed all around. The little details are the best. Hidden Spike Trap says
Now,
yes.
I think the best detail for me is that his face mask, if you want to call it that, being linked to it, having actually reacted to all the shit.
Mm-hmm.
And the best option, fuck you, right there. Like,
Yep.
again, you can play this however you want. You can talk your mouth off, which is probably going to be one of the ways I do it in the first bit, because I know I'm probably going to go decently heavy into combat because it's how I want to do it in the first playthrough. But then the second playthrough is going to be farming and fishing for my actual character stuff.
Moments like this is where it gets intense. I hope they have a lot of moments like this.
In Cyberpunk, there are always moments like this.
Let's hope that translates well into the game.
Again, but that is depicted by your game master, of how many of these moments you can have.
Well,
just like
Project Red is going to be our game master for this, essentially.
I know, and from what we've seen so far, they're doing a great job at that. And here's where everything just goes tits up.
Yep. I think at this point they start like showing off some of the more advanced
The reflex booster went off, and 2 people died immediately, which is disgusting.
That is crazy.
Like the reflex booster being a slowdown, or the Matrix slow, really really good depicted, because again, reflex boosters are actually like a drug in regular.
See, Fallout has that as well. That same drug that gives you that effect.
I'm just wondering if they're going to have the addiction chart on there too, because you can get addicted to reflex boosters.
I would hope they have an addiction mechanic, but I mean,
I would probably use the reflex boosters so sparingly because fuck dealing with the addiction boost.
I hope they have a good addiction mechanic because I do come from playing Fallout games on survival. You've got to deal with things like hunger, addiction, thirst, radiation, all that. So having all these extra things you have to be aware of just improves the immersion for me.
Now, I'm sure they'll probably let you go get something to eat and whatnot in here, but I don't think it should be.
I don't know that they're going to have like a hunger bar by any chance in this.
I'm hoping they don't have a hunger bar, but I'm sure that you'll be able to go to a bar, get some drinks and whatnot. Like be able to still experience the other side of the Cyberpunk world and not just bang, bang, shoot, shoot, murder, kill, kill.
I know I said it a million times, but like the big draw for me about this game is it feels like if I had joined Bethesda after New Vegas came out and had absolute control over what would be done with the game going forward, this is what the future Fallout games would have looked like. To me, in my mind, and what I prefer. So when I see this game, I know you've got history with Cyberpunk, the Cyberpunk world with the tabletop. When I see this game, I'm literally looking into what I wish I got from Fallout as they move through time in their trend. And, okay, Dragon Mom even agrees. It kind of does feel like they pushed New Vegas forward. Like, if they pushed New Vegas forward. Rest in peace, Obsidian. Having rights to make Fallout games. It's just, there's no doubt that it's a beautiful game, and some of these mechanics are really cool. I know they mentioned that the mechanics in particular are something they're still playing with, so nothing's final. But like, look at that. That's a ricochet bullet with proper trajectory mapping. How cool is that?
I just wonder if they're also going to include like hollow point rounds and armor piercing shells and such, because that's also a thing. Like, I won't tell you how much I'm going to go off if I get depleted uranium rounds.
Depleted uranium? That sounds dangerous.
Yeah. when every character only has a max of 40 HP, and that's dependent on how much damage you can physically soak. Like
Lieutenant Dan doesn't have no legs.
It's adding 2d6 damage to every bullet that hits. Like, it's disgusting.
Jesus.
But you're talking about like illegal weaponry, illegal firearms, which is kind of why I'm hoping to actually have a fixer-esque class for yourself that you can actually acquire those things for.
So, like, you would become the guy that was in the back of the seat?
Yeah, you would kind of do that. Where you wouldn't actually have to complete missions. You would send other people that you know out on missions for less pay than what you're making.
That would be me to you. Hey, Largo, I got a job for you.
See, because that would just be me then running the solo class and you being the fixer. You give me guns, and I'll go deal with the baddies.
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't give you guns. You'd have to find other ways.
Well, if you're my fixer, then I'd be going to you for guns anyway.
I would be the breaker, I think. I wouldn't fix anything. I'd just make it worse.
I don't care how you would acquire them. If you would just give me a price, I would have to pay, I'd pay you for them, unless you tried to rip me off, and then I would rip people's legs off like that.
Now,
I think one of my favorite things for this was in one of the clips earlier on in here, or actually this is exactly it. Like, he charges somebody, blows their legs off. He goes, "My legs!"
Oh,
but
yeah.
When his head, he shoots his head too, like literally right here. And it's still yelling "my legs" after his head's been blown off.
Only in today's year can we laugh about that.
That's the Monty Python reference right there. Because it's just a flesh wound.
I don't know. What an amazing game. I'm not a big first-person shooter guy. Like, I don't play, like, the competitive Call of Duty or Battlefield. But
you played Prey.
But I love the story-driven first-person. I can do that all day and night. So, like, things like Prey, Fallout, now Cyberpunk.
So, yeah, you're going to brainjack this month.
Now, this threw me for a loop. Seeing them basically hack in through a guy's cybernetics by plugging into his spine and accessing the entire base through that. Like, holy crap.
That's part of the Netrunner mentality for this. Because Netrunner was a class. And technically, stealing people from people, stealing information. Oh my god, the fuck.
Kerrigan mode engaged.
Again, you don't even know.
Now this is cool because they're hacking the gun to not work. They're basically disabling the link between that person and their gun, so you could attack this one while the other person is like, "Why is my gun not working?"
That's, again, every upgrade you get has a downside.
Stealth
smart
gameplay.
links. If you have the ability to range hack somebody, you can disable their smart links to their guns, which means it won't shoot unless it's attached to the smart link. Likewise, cyber gear for cyber arms with cyber weapons are nasty.
I am glad that they're not doing what Star Citizen did. Like, they had a very ambitious project with this, but they do have an end goal in mind, whereas like Star Citizen is probably not going to be released before I die. It'll probably still be in like pre-alpha.
Wait, this wasn't the railgun, was it?
This was supposedly the strongest weapon, if I remember, whatever that was.
Well, strongest weapon right now.
Right, at least in the demo. That right there is much cooler than power armor, just saying.
What, an exosuit?
Yeah.
Nah.
I mean, power armor's cool, but after seeing it in Fallout 4, it's like, eh.
The Fallout 4 power armor doesn't excite me.
Not at all. It's everywhere. Are you kidding?
Again, these bullets is why she got the smart link.
Yeah, because they like heat seek track.
Well, no. She in her head, she can, because of her cyber eye, she can physically target a person. It will lock onto their position and their heat signature and everything, even if you're looking through walls. And it physically locks that as your current target. And so no matter what way you point the gun, those bullets will find that target. So Ryan can play the game even.
Hidden Spike Trap brings up the environment destruction. Yeah, the like when the pole was being eroded away from gunfire.
Yep.
I haven't said anything on it yet, just because usually when people say environment destruction, it's very like niche. It's very gimmicky. So I'm not putting any of my eggs in that basket. It's still possible
God,
that's a gimmick,
God.
but I do like the dodge there. That makes you feel like
Powerful.
it makes you feel like a badass playing the game, being able to dodge left and right and weave and bob and climb walls if you've got the I want to be Kerrigan from StarCraft arms.
Again, that's just one specific cyberware upgrade. I'm waiting to get my hammer arm, combine it with my. I'd have to look at the character sheet.
Hammer arm, like a
Yeah.
legitimate hammer as an arm.
No, it's just the way the hand is built.
Weave and bob, it's bob and weave, says Dragon Mamasura. Hey, don't
get,
judge the order of my actions, all right? I can do that in any order I want.
Again, remember how I said everyone has a maximum of 40 health
Yeah,
in tabletop?
in the tabletop.
A hammer arm turns your unarmed damage to a D10 instead of a D6. And
I mean, it's a fucking hammer.
hydraulic rams. Because you can have a hydraulic ram, you turn it into 3D10. So you can literally just someone's head gone.
All right, so if you want to watch the rest of this, I'm sure you can easily find it on the Cyberpunk YouTube. It's probably their latest video. It's a fairly long one. I'll go ahead
Can
and
confirm.
snip it from there. So honestly, like, you know how I feel about it. It's going to give me everything I'm going to feel like I'm missing from 76. So like I feel like Fallout 76 plus Cyberpunk 2077 is going to cover all the bases for me for a while. So I can't wait for this game to come out. I know you're looking forward to it because you were big into the tabletop, Largo. Utility, you haven't really been following along the tabletop or any of it. What's your views in seeing the preview?
I mean, see, I don't want to say too much because this game is actually the complete opposite of what I like about video games, so I didn't really want to give my input. I'm not into these type of games, so when you're going through the video discussing, oh, I like seeing that, I'm glad they added that, I'm like, well, I don't have experience with those, so I don't know if that's a great thing that they added or not.
Was there anything that struck you as something that maybe you didn't like?
I mean, again, I don't like the whole synopsis of it. The only thing I can look at the thing and see they're doing a really good job with it. Like, I give them props for that. It looks like it's extremely well made. It's just not my kind of thing.
Just not your kind of game. Are you? Is it like the whole idea of melding man and machine that you're not interested in?
I'm not into cybernetics. I'm not into mechas. I'm not into first-person games. I'm not into shooters. I'm not into realism. I'm a fantasy guy. I like very directional stuff instead of open world.
So sword and board, wizards and knights kind of thing.
I'm the total opposite of this.
That's fair, but you know it does speak a lot that you could look at it and say, for the people it's targeted to, it looks like it's doing a really good job.
Yeah, I mean, I can easily say, even though it's not my kind of thing, I can see the love and attention they're putting into this. It looks very good from the perspective of design.
That's fair.
I'm gonna say if I don't beat the main storyline in the first week, I'm gonna have a problem.
In the first week?
Yep.
How many hours do you think? Like, if you had to guess, let's just assume this is like Fallout 3 length in the story. How many hours do you think you put in, and how many replays do you think you would make of this game?
In the first playthrough, I'm probably gonna put 300 hours in it.
That was a fast answer.
I'm just saying, like that's me guesstimating. I'm probably gonna put 300 hours in the first playthrough in the first week. I don't even have 300 hours in that week. I'm probably gonna put 300 hours into it.
So, any closing statements on Cyberpunk for you, Largo?
There are no closing statements. The closing statement is it needs to be out like yesterday.
Like yesterday? I could feel that. So I'm gonna go ahead and transition us into talking about the Spider-Man controversy. Like, we just saw amazing graphics, so maybe this is a bad order of things.
Now you've got me all hyped up on Cyberpunk. Now you want me to talk about Spider-Man? Come on, man.
I'm trying to change the subject because I'm hyped up for Cyberpunk as well. I was hyped for it. I was like, hey, this could be pretty good. I like The Witcher. I trust these guys. But then when I saw what it's actually offering is everything that I missed from Fallout, I was like you could see drool coming out of my mouth. Like, I wouldn't want to be caught in public thinking about Cyberpunk. We'll put it that way.
It's to that point where I don't care anymore.
All right, so Spider-Man, if you haven't followed, Largo, would you tell us what the actual controversy is? For the users who maybe can't extrapolate that for themselves here.
As far as how we're talking exactly, specifically at this exact point, about the controversy that's going on with the graphics change. And some would say there are no graphics change. But Largo, we can obviously see something's different with these photos. Yeah, look, the puddles are gone.
I don't know, though. Like, the shine's gone, too. The edge shine on Spider-Man.
Everything on the second picture, which is one of the more recent builds from the demos and everything that people have been playing lately, everything looks flat instead of actually rendered appropriately.
Hidden Spike Trap is actually on the same wavelength as me. Is this like Ubisoft trailer versus actual game? Because that's, at first glance, that's where I'm at.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people are saying. That's what they think they're doing. They got downgraded from, the Amazeballs thing from the original trailer into what we have now. And they're coming out and saying that, no, the game isn't downgraded.
The game isn't downgraded.
A lot of people are saying the game's graphics have been turned down for what?
The sun moved. That's the okay. Let me just make one statement here. If your graphics when the sun are out are cinematic, and your graphics when the sun is not out are Nintendo 64, you've got a problem with your graphics.
Well, go back to the first photo. Go back to the first photo, and I can tell you what my theory is on this.
All right.
Okay. So, yes, you can see that in these both photos, in the picture on the left, the sun is very prominent in the sky to the background, right?
Yep.
You can see it. In the photo on the right, the sun is not in that place. It's a totally different place.
Yeah.
So the sun has indeed moved. Well,
right.
As much as the sun can move. More like the Earth has moved and the sun is in a different position. But what we don't know is whether or not these puddles, per se, are randomly generated in the world or not.
They could be.
It could be not a static piece of art on a piece of ground that is always there. It could actually be generated by weather effects that could have happened or could not have happened earlier in the day. It's a thought-provoking thing.
But even if you look at like the details that are available, right? Like take out like obviously the biggest thing is going to be the light and dark, because that's where you get your sense of depth from, is the shadows and the light. I get that. But even if you look at like some of the details here, like the grading on the left is way more detailed than the grading on the right. Like, this isn't something you can say that like, oh, the sun just moved. Like, this is actually different.
But think about it too. Lighting, as we just said, lighting plays a huge part in how we perceive things in games, no matter what. If the main source of light.
Okay, common theory. Zalbathar says common theory is that when the day one patch comes, the graphics will be better again. Let me tell you where I stand on that. Whenever a company tells me, I swear a day one patch will fix all your problems, I automatically know there's a huge red flag. If it can be a day one patch, it could be patched before that. Or the game could be delayed by a day. I have had zero good luck with any claims of the day one patch is going to come in and make your life better than it is. Well, who said that? Oh, but I mean, it's a common theory from people. All right. So even as just a community theory, a day one patch to fix it, like, that's such a dangerous place to think, because you're setting yourself up for disappointment. I would not expect a day one patch to completely change rendering in a game.
Well, there is times where the day one patch is actually the game, bringing up Ubisoft again.
Now, go back to the second picture, too, because I got a minute to speak about that. Because you can even tell in this, I'm not sure if that's just the light as well, which it doesn't seem like it because the right picture does seem much more flat than the left picture. But to me, the left picture seems like a cinematic pose, whereas the right one is not.
The
And
right,
one
the,
like it's an in-game depiction of it.
the right looks like they put more detail into the texture work. Like if you look at the mask.
Yeah.
So the right has more texture work, and it feels like the left has more rendering and post-processing. That's exactly how I feel about it.
I'm not exactly sure how to feel about all of this, though. Like, I mean, I've been hyped for the Spider-Man game since the trailer originally, and you know that.
Yep.
And I'm actually still looking forward to this, but I feel like because of how this has been brought out, that I'm not sure I feel the same about it. Like, I've definitely lost some based on these allocations, but we'll have to see. But it's probably still going to be a fantastic game. I am also still going to bring up that I don't like the fact that before the game has been announced, they've already said, yeah, in a month's time, you're going to have the first DLC.
I hate that so much.
And
it shows you where the priorities are for an organization.
But that pisses me off because I feel like that is cut content from the game that they're just hiding behind a paywall. Like, yeah. It should be inside the game and not necessarily a month away.
And a lot of that can just be fixed by changing their approach to PR and how they talk to the community, because it's not uncommon for a game to be released and having like a DLC level piece of content worked on by another team. That's not uncommon, but it's all about optics, right? To me.
Right.
So if they were to instead say, we plan on supporting this game for a while with great content, updates as we go along, and then when time comes, say, we've had such enough reception, we've decided to go ahead and release an early DLC for you guys. Think about how you, as a consumer, view that versus a company saying we're going to have a DLC a month after the game launches. Like, it's the same thing, but it's conveyed in two very different frames.
Yep.
And that matters.
My problem with this still, about this DLC thing, is not only are they because I understand there's a team that works on level design, graphics, etc.
Right.
And the team that's polishing the game is not necessarily the one that's working on new content. I completely understand that. And the people that have been working on level design and stuff probably have been done for, 6 to 8 months. And it's just been people debugging, recoding, etc. for the game to work appropriately.
Right.
So, with that said, I still feel that the DLC is technically coming out a little too fast for them to have not added in to just the regular game. And I'm not saying that a month out DLC can't have happened, because again, we just agreed.
Right.
But DLC 2 is coming out in November. 3 is coming out in December. That's a lot.
That's
really fast.
It really sounds almost like if you could think back to when they first talked about doing StarCraft 2, when they first announced, by the way, we're going to have all of the factions in their own game. You're not going to get all the factions in one game. Like, remember how people thought about that? Like, it really feels like what we're seeing right now, a lot of, and I'm not even going to touch the League of Legends stuff, just I'm aware of it. What we're seeing a lot of is companies not knowing how to talk to their consumers, to the gamers. They have the right ideas, they have the right intentions, they don't know how to talk to gamers. End of story. There's a language breakdown. They just don't get it.
This is starting to remind me, I've figured out a way to work this in, of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
You got, okay, it's not a Warp Stage 3 show unless the utility man can find a way to wedge Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite into the conversation.
But that's what it makes me think of. Months before the game is even out. Hey, we have multiple seasons of DLC we're planning for this thing. And who wasn't disgusted with that? It's like, yay, we're getting more content, but why is this not already in the game?
It's Marvel vs. Capcom. It's a Capcom game. They're going to have months and months of DLC, but it's all going to be goddamn costumes.
Yeah.
We'll see. They had characters planned too.
Just saying.
Characters that were already on disc, perhaps.
Yeah, they probably were. But this is also in relation to the whole lighting effects, because when they were showing some of the early screenshots and stuff of Infinite, you know, a lot of the effects on attacks and on characters didn't look very good, and they came out and it's just the lighting. They improved the lighting, and it looked okay. And then you see Chun-Li's face. It's just the lighting. Hell no, it's not.
That is not. That's some like googly eye, like toy from Kmart. If anyone remembers when Kmart was a thing, are they still around? Anyways,
sometimes it's the lighting, but I've been fooled by lighting too many times to know if it is or isn't.
But this is just in my mind, again, this is just another case of tripping over and not knowing how to communicate, because look at where gamers are. Look at what the history of what gamers have faced. The expectation of gamers, if you show them that picture, let me just pull that picture back up, right? So if you show them something that looks like it does on the left, and then you show them something that looks like it does on the right, no matter what, even if there is a perfectly reasonable reason for this to be the case and look this way, look at the history. Gamers have had to deal with Ubisoft constantly pushing out cinematic quality going down to PlayStation graphics every single time. Knowing this, knowing how gamers are going to respond to it, you've got to work a lot harder as a gaming studio to prove I'm not those guys. And if you're not working harder to do that, you either need to not have comparison images like this pop up, or you need to have some kind of better messaging than just saying, oh, it's only because we promise it's okay. That doesn't work. We've seen how this goes wrong way too many times as gamers. You're not going to convince us by just saying it's not what we're seeing, because it's what we're seeing.
To be fair, a lot of the stuff from the right is, from what I understand, coming from early access games. So this is still without, obviously, day one patches on stuff, without the stuff that might influence the right-hand graphics, versus the left. Again, the left was from its original in-house incarnation in said trailers. The right ones are from what is current in the final build of the game, but not necessarily the final installment of the game. And again, from what might have happened, what probably has changed since the left to the right is during the cinematics, they had everything as static images. Standard builds like that is always there every time. Whereas the ones on the right might have been, they might have added weather effects that change the rendition of how some things go.
But do you see where there's a problem there when they come out and say nothing's changed?
Well, no, they didn't come out and say nothing's changed. They just said that the sun has moved. We didn't downgrade the graphics.
But don't you see where that's a problem? Because that's what they did instead of demonstrate and show through the game how the sun affects it, which I think that's what they need to do. They need to come out and say, here's a sun cycle, here's what it looks like. Because if they don't, here's what's going to happen. The game releases. Let's say it's really close to the left. If one pixel is out of place, gamers are going to be pissed. And they're going to use this as a reason to be pissed. They set themselves up to be trapped as a studio.
We've experienced this in particular with Watch Dogs, to be honest.
Watch Dogs was a huge issue for me with the preview to what came out.
Right. And I mean, between the preview to what came out, the entire reason that it came out like it did was because it was held back by consoles. Like, the PC builds handled it, and by modding the game has been proved that it can handle it easily. Honestly, the game ran better when it wasn't throttled in the way it was. But they wanted to make a standardized version to push for the actual launch so that everybody would have it at the same time. So Xbox and PS4 and PC would have it in one go. And I don't agree with that still. Like, I feel like the PC probably should have still got what it got, and they shouldn't have changed the end works for the console versions.
I mean, going between console and PC has always been a battleground, right? Like developers will develop for console and then port it to PC, but then you got all the console ways of doing things that PC players aren't used to. Then you have games like Dying Light where they're like, okay, it'll look the same at all, but at the cost of console running only 30 frames per second. There's so much like Battlefield back and forth on on how this war between consoles and PCs works for studios.
Yeah, you don't want to say Battlefield. It might give you a Windows launcher.
I don't know. Maybe now we can put Battlefield in the tags for the video since we officially did talk about it, and we'll get many views of people. So
I think a lot of the problems nowadays, instead of damage control, you need to focus more on damage prevention. Because for the perspective you showed there, if I looked at the right image, and that's all I ever saw of the game, I would think, oh, that looks fine. It looks okay. But from the perspective of people that saw the left image first and then the right, it looks like a major downgrade.
Can I tell you what I think happened here is Hello Games released No Man's Sky, which is the perfect example of how not to do things. And all the studios said, I'm not going to learn any lessons from that.
Well, I mean, to be fair, most of the players said to it too, but they learned a lesson.
Okay.
I think,
I
think what's going to happen is this might be everyone's final chance at looking at this, because what's going to happen is the launch of the game is going to be much slower than it was intention originally. Like, everyone originally was like, yep, pick it up day one, don't give a shit.
Yep.
Now, some people that are kind of like me are going to be skeptical, not going to pick it up on day one.
Yep.
Wait and see how the graphics are going to turn out. Wait and see if that puddle is actually going to be there or not after the day one patch, per se. And if it's not, they're going to have lost the sale.
So I'm going to tell you something here. This is a general approach. And anyone who works for a studio, please listen to me on this because it's important. When controversy hits your game, as in the current year we live, it hits most games. Controversy comes in all forms, as we very well know in this week. When controversy hits your games, people are very polarized on their opinions. It's going to turn into a battlefield. It does not matter who's right or who's wrong. The fact that the battle is being fought is going to leave nothing but scorched earth, and people are not going to want to participate in a destroyed landscape. It doesn't matter who's right. It doesn't matter who's wrong. So as a studio, your job, if you want to sell games, is not to pick a side. It's not to say this side is right and this side is wrong. You've just lost half your customers. Your job is to put out the fire and say, understand where people are coming from. This isn't the best place to hold it. That's why they need to do it and come out and say, here's a video of the sun before and after. Kill it. Put the fire out now. Don't argue it. Don't say it's only because of the sun or we didn't change anything. That's not going to do anything but stoke the flames and make them higher. Put a video out. Put the fire out. Stop the controversy.
We've seen what happens when you don't do that, because you can come out and say, oh, all you people who want Magneto in this game, you don't really want Magneto, you just want his moveset. That went over well.
Look at the examples we have. Battlefield 5. Andromeda. Huge one. Now League of Legends. Every time you turn an argument into a fight between two sides, one of those sides, no matter who's right or wrong, are not going to be playing your game. You've lost half of your customers because it was more important to be right than to be effective. You got to stop somewhere.
Well, again, I think it kind of goes back to what I said before. Damage prevention should be a focus. Like, we have so much statistical data to show what the average game player really cares about. You really have to think in terms of, okay, here's what we plan to show. How are they going to perceive this?
Mm-hmm. 100% agree with you. So any closing statements on the Spider-Man image? Anyone in chat have anything to say about that as well? Now's probably the time.
I think you're right that the best way they could solve this issue, and honestly, they could probably have that video out by today if they really wanted to.
They could.
They should just do a quick render on their build, put Spider-Man in that exact same spot. Don't like have the AI disabled for a minute, or even enabled. It doesn't matter. Have just the daylight transition go and see if it's actually a weather effect that actually spawns the puddles or not.
Yep, just time lapse the sun. Done.
Yep.
Conversations over. Arguments gone.
Yep.
And then people say, "Oh, okay, I'll buy the game."
Yep.
Yeah. Such an easy thing to do.
Even if it is just like how it is on the right, even if it is kind of a downgrade, I'd still, I'm still intending to play the game, no matter what. Like, it's just because of the kind of game it is. I've been waiting for a good Spider-Man game to come out.
Day one DLC Spider Pig. Spider Pig. Yeah. Spider Pig does whatever a Spider Pig does. What was it? Can he fly or can he fly? No, he can't because he's a Spider Pig. I forget. Whatever. You'll have to look it up. It's the Homer Simpson skit. It's so good.
So obviously, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Do you have a link? Do you have a link? I'll play it.
I don't have a link to the Homer Simpson clip, but I do have something kind of in reference to that I can't believe this is even a thing, but I got to show it now because it made me think of it.
Is it an image?
Yeah.
All right, throw it up here for me.
Why is this a thing?
Hold on.
Why are there Spider Pig techno remixes and everything?
What?
Why is it? These are real comics. This is actually a series.
Hold on,
it's
Peter.
Not a one-time thing.
Hold on, Peter Porker. What age range is this meant for again?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I've seen a few of them going to comic shops, so it's not like a one-time thing. Why does it exist?
That's special.
Great. But the very best thing is that he listens.
Okay, sure. Let's just ruin everything by doing that instead. Thank you, YouTube. You're so very kind. I think they're trying to assassinate us is what's happening. Because if they could play something else, they could get us on copyright strike. I feel like they're targeting us.
Great. But the very best thing is that he listens.
Did you have it on the sync?
Oh, no, I didn't put it on sync. Sorry. You've heard the song.
So now we don't get to hear it on our side.
Well, here, I'll link it in our chat.
No, it's too late now.
Oh, okay.
Spider Pig does. Can he swing from a web? No, we can't. He's a pig. Look out, he is a Spider Pig.
Hold on. Do you see? I forgot about it. Just look at those eyes. It's like, what the hell?
He's gone. He's lost it. That's the end of the world.
Oh man. So we got a little bit of time. That's Spider-Man for everybody. The current controversy with that. Utility, why don't you tell us about some Nintendo news?
Okay, so I think it's common knowledge now that the Wii U failed and the Switch is actually succeeding. But I'm kind of curious to know why, the speculation on it. So back in January and February, they were kind of comparing the two along with the Wii U, which I will link you right now. So we can see kind of how the three systems have done sales-wise in North America, Europe, and Japan. And you'll see pretty much a trend across all three, that the Wii U just kind of stayed way down here, and the other two were way up there. Like, the Switch itself
look at that.
Just explodes.
But the Wii U didn't?
The Wii U never did. It never really caught on.
It looks like a plane that never left the actual landing. Never got off the runway. Never got off the runway. Not even once. Jesus.
So, I didn't think about it too much then because it's like, of course, nobody cared about the Wii U, really. But then just recently, this week, this was released. And I think this puts a whole new perspective on it, and it's why I'm talking about it today.
Let's see, copy link. I'll put this in another tab.
Tab goes straight back to Spider Pig.
Yeah,
Oh
right.
my gosh.
And then YouTube tries to play another copywritten track just to assassinate us further. All right, so what am I looking at here?
So this is Japanese Wii U software sales versus Switch software sales. Just look at that. Quick, sharp incline.
So is the blue is Wii U then? This is a
The
timeline.
blue is the Wii U. The Switch has already caught up to it in Japan, and it's not far behind worldwide.
It looks like it's actually not only caught up but overlapping it now.
Oh yeah, this was just put out recently. So
Wow.
the next time they do sales statistics, it will probably be above.
Wow. But what I find interesting is it's I would like to see a graph with third-party development. Like what does third-party development on the Switch look like right now? What do we have that's out that's big from third parties?
Probably a lot of
So-
indie titles at the moment.
It's mostly indie, and that's the interesting thing. Because one of the biggest complaints about the Wii U is that all of the third-party stuff they were getting were like late ports, delayed ports. You know, we already bought this a couple years ago. It's downgraded. Why would we want it again?
And a lot of devs
And-
just didn't even want to bother with it.
A lot of devs didn't want to bother with it. So then when the Switch came out, we thought, okay, well, the big takeaway from the Wii U was maybe advertising was bad. Maybe people didn't know that the Wii U was its own thing, which is a possibility. So now we have the Switch. And third-party devs were, again, doing the same kind of thing. It's like, we don't really want to bother too much with Nintendo stuff. But the indie market has decided to make a huge grounds here on the Switch. This here is what is driving the Switch right now.
You know, I could believe it too, because that was my big complaint with the Wii U. Like, I completely skipped it. Was the third-party dev wasn't there, and you know, I'm not against Mario games, but you know, I'm not like a fan cult follower of Mario either. Like, I don't get
Right.
super excited about a new Mario Galaxy or anything like that. So,
Mhm.
not having third-party is kind of huge for me because I'm not going to buy a
is.
console just for the next Mario.
But it's interesting to note here that it's not things like, oh, the Switch gets the latest Final Fantasy or the Switch gets the latest Devil May Cry. It's not things like that that are driving sales. It's indie. It's the Switch now has Owlboy. The Switch now has Hollow Knight.
Dead Cells.
And they're doing amazingly well.
Is it Dead Cells out on the Switch now, or is it still?
I think
Yeah, it should be out on the Switch by now. I saw that they were getting the physical release. I believe that has come out. So don't quote me on that.
the
But I-
biggest difference though of why it's actually having indie sales is because it's also portable.
It's
Like,
portable.
everyone's- Everyone's bought it on consoles or PC. They don't have it a to-go version, and the Switch easily does that.
And it's also a lot easier to develop on the Switch too because it's using known components. It's not using some kind of like in-house Nintendo stuff. You've got known hardware like Samsung parts in there that people have been developing for ages. And so the tooling to create games is already well known. So like you could jump in. I could probably spend 2 months to research how the Switch runs things and develop a game. You couldn't necessarily do that on the Wii U. You had to jump down this entire rabbit hole of developer knowledge.
That's
Yeah,
it.
I heard a lot of devs complaining about developing for the Wii U.
That's
so-
it. Confirmed from here. We're gonna have a Fortis-based game for the Switch.
Fortis-based game for the Switch. I like it.
Save won't develop it for us. That's it.
So I got one more link to kind of put things into perspective here,
All right.
and I think this is a big one to hammer my point home. This kind of thing that you're about to display on there, we are seeing this every week.
This is starting to actually put some context on Bethesda stepping away from Steam for 76, isn't it?
Well, see, I first thought because we'd gone over a few weeks ago about how Steam was going to be kind of hard to sell on because you have so much competition.
And most
So
of it's
I-
garbage.
And I thought at first case, it's like, well, of course that makes sense for it to sell better on the Switch than on Steam. But then I'm looking at other kind of things where games like Death Squared, Oceanhorn, Wonder Boy,
Yep.
week after week they're coming out and saying we're selling better on Switch than everything else. Like Death Squared in particular, if anyone knows what that, they've sold better on Switch than every other platform.
And
Like
Dragon Ball.
PlayStation 4, Xbox One.
Dragon Ball brought up, Jim Sterling talked about Switch's
Mhm.
library being less stuff with asset flips, and so it's easier to find stuff. I absolutely agree with that. I know we've had really in-depth discussions over the problems of the Steam library and how it relates to the mobile gaming market right now. And there's just so much cruft that the good can never really get proper light put on it. But then with a brand like Nintendo, in the back of your mind, you view Nintendo as kind of like the ultimate curator for their own device, right? And so when they say, "Here's a game on the Switch," you can trust that they've done the research and it's not going to be an asset flip piece of garbage.
I mean, generally, you would assume that's the case. I'm sure some stuff will slip by. People find a way. But the running theory right now is, are indies thriving on the Switch so well because it's not getting a lot of third-party support from major companies?
What?
It doesn't have a lot to compete with.
I think it's multifaceted. I think right now, if you're an indie developer, think about it. How do you get your stuff on people's devices to go as an indie developer? You don't even really think about it. You just think, okay, I'm an indie, so that means I need to use Steam, and then you check that off and you're done. You don't even really think about porting it to other consoles. But the Switch has
Not really.
opened up that road. It's like a road that's been closed for the longest time. Like, how does an indie developer put anything on like a PlayStation Portable, right? Like, you can, but it's a long and hard road. And Nintendo finally released a device that said, hey, we're very welcoming. In fact, we're going to make it really easy for you indie developers to increase your market share. And so I think it's a combination. I think it's because it's so much easier to develop and because they're not having to compete with all the garbage. I think it's from both fronts.
Well, I imagine it's probably a shock to even Nintendo that it's doing this well. I don't think that when they designed the Switch that they had it anywhere in the front of their mind that, okay, we're going to be an indie pushing machine. I doubt they even thought of that.
I guarantee you if they had that planned for like the Wii U, I bet you the Wii U would have done a lot better. And I said that back then when the Wii U came out. I said I don't think it's going to work.
No, it didn't.
So I was
I
right
mean,
about that at least.
the fact that we can see that they're porting a lot of the popular Wii U games over to the Switch means they kind of want to forget that the Wii U even happened.
But I mean, I can understand. Like Nintendo, you have to remember, like for the longest time, they're very protective of their brand. They're very selective and
Yeah.
very protective. So it makes sense, especially being an overseas studio, right? You don't want to open the floodgates to other developers because they could theoretically take the steam from your own brand, the own Nintendo brand, or theoretically that a game could come out that they didn't agree with and ruin the Nintendo brand. And they're very protective over that. They white glove around the Nintendo logo. So I get it.
Yeah.
I get it, but I think what we're seeing here is that they're finally catching up to what gamers are actually looking for.
Well, they've definitely caught on to the whole indie thing. Like, Nintendo is doing a very big push of indie titles. They have Nintendo Directs that are completely for indie games. So they can see that's what people want. I'm just kind of wondering, this just seems to have fell into their lap here because they tried so hard with the Wii U to get third-party support. Wasn't happening. They tried at the early forefront of the Switch. Wasn't really happening. But then indie devs came along. It's like, hey, we want to put our stuff on your console, and it exploded.
It's a match made in heaven if you think about it. It really is a match made in heaven. I mean, the sales of indie games have been going up and up and up as AAA has disappointed more and more and more. People are turning to indie games, and what's their biggest problem? How do you find a good one? And then Nintendo has the Switch with indie games that are proven to be good, and there literally could not be a better marriage between target audience and console than the Switch and indie. Like it's the the best marriage I have seen since I was born, if I'm being honest with you.
Even better than peanut butter and jelly?
Maybe equal to PBJ. So which one's the jelly and which one's... Oh, he's gone.
Wow.
My God.
So this is an interesting thing for me as someone who never liked digital, so I didn't pay indie much attention. I actually find myself going out and looking at what the new indie titles are because Nintendo is pushing them so hard. It's actually got my interest.
Well, you know, there's another side to that too, is the expectation for indie games. Yes, there are some beautiful indie games, but the expectation is they're not going to have the same polish as a AAA. What's your expectation for gaming on the go? It's not going to have the same polish as a full-fledged console or a PC. So the market expectation also matches up. It's like the perfect... It's not even just from two ways. It's like the perfect triangle, the trine. Yeah, I'm trying to make a Zelda joke.
You're trying to make a
Ah!
Oh my gosh.
That face when the response to the Zelda joke was better than the Zelda joke. I'll give you credit for that, Largo.
Oh my God.
I think you're right, though, because when I looked at first-party Switch games, I always saw people complaining, oh, well, it doesn't work as good in handheld mode as it does in docked mode. Well, of course it doesn't.
Yeah.
But people don't do that with the indie games because they know what to expect.
Yep.
I completely agree with that.
And with indie's lack of actual needing, I guess, processing power, and I'm not saying really a lack of needing it, but since everything's more stylized than it is hyper 3D rendered like something like Cyberpunk, it doesn't need dock mode, and you don't lose anything in there. It's kind of like watching anime in 1080p watching anime in 4K versus 1080p.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
you're going to get the
renders
same
so
experience, really. And once you scale it up too much, it starts looking jaggy.
You're not looking to see that smooth single color over some anime chick's face in 4K.
JD might
have
have
face right here.
JD might have some argument over specific
I'm sure
scenes.
he's talking about something about the pantsu or the booty.
Yeah.
But,
Oh yeah, that booty has to have all the right hues.
It's God damn it.
Out of all the ways we could describe color as it pertains
It had to be the hue.
ass, it had to be hue. This is the way we describe...
And that's a great note to leave out on.
Yeah, you know what? I think...
Yo,
So, did you have anything else to say, or are we going to leave it at ass hue? Like, hashtag ass hue.
I don't think we
No.
can top it. I'm sorry.
All right. So,
I did want to say, for the record, it's not just the quality of the games themselves, but just as a quick to touch on for something that I did a couple weeks ago, because the indie marketing is thriving on the Switch, we get things like this, which that makes me want to be an indie gamer.
Of course, you sent us the smallest image possible.
It's not that small for me.
it's probably because I didn't actually use the link.
That looks beautiful to me. Like, I would buy that.
I don't know. That's...
It does have a second game?
No, it's a reversible cover.
Oh.
I really liked Dust. I did. I enjoyed it. I actually streamed this back in the day.
I broke the shit out of it.
I don't like the overtone of, like, furry. Like, I don't get it.
I understand that, but that's not how I'm looking at it.
I don't judge, but I don't get it. So it was a fun game,
I love
though.
the animation. I love the animation. I like the stylized art. I was not a fan of the furry, but I thought it was a good game.
There was enough there to enjoy it either way, though, for sure.
But the question now, since we're on Dust at this exact point, did you do the double slash, uppercut slash thing to get on top of that wall to get the fucking huge ass armor?
I don't even
Before
remember.
you're supposed to, because you can't climb the wall before you get a certain item.
Oh, right. But you can kind of do some like janky
You can go
maneuvers.
slash uppercut like repeatedly in quick succession.
Right.
and climb the wall.
No, I didn't do that. And DJ Down South 7 bringing in The second the second half of the equation.
Yes, that's an important half.
Thanks.
Well, they're
I
both
appreciate-
important halves.
I appreciate that Hidden Spike Trap is saying the ass hue is so cute, though.
Gosh.
Oh, there's plenty of
But-
colored asses out there in the universe for everybody.
But yeah, I really just wanted to use this as an example. A lot of indie games are getting this now, and it's really made me pay attention to the indie market.
No,
I was never an indie person until the Switch.
And now
Ass hue
that's
it
flipped
does
for
make
you.
tend to pay attention to stuff. Yep, that's right. Especially on the Switch.
At least, okay.
God damn it.
The one closing thing I'll say is at least he didn't use saturation as the comparative term. And on that note, thank you all so much for jumping in to our weekly show of Warp Stage 3. I have been, and still am, I suppose, Frosthaven here with Largo and the Utility Man. We're a part of the Fortis Core gaming community. Link down below if you want to argue over which hashtag today is better. Discord.fortiscoregaming.com. Check out our Twitter, which is at FortisCore. And if you really want to support us and pay for our weird habits and kinks, you can either subscribe to our Twitch channel or send us $1 on Warp Stage 3
You say
Patreon.
weird habits right after showing the dust
what?
thing.
Oh, that's good.
I'll leave it. We'll leave it that way. In any event, thank you all again so much. The only reason we do this is because you guys enjoy coming in and listening to us rant. So we'll see you again next Saturday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on Warp Stage 3. Have a good night, everybody.
See you, dudes.
See you later.